And like he just did it, so it's fine. But it's super weird. It's like watching Spencer get dressed in his head, kind of thing. Anyway, that's how I want to have
take that image out of my head right now.
What a cold open. All right, everybody, you got Dad's Bet Baseball. I am Adam Rosenberg, and with me as always is CJ Buskey, aka Slippin' Jimmy. CJ, we are near the halfway point of the season. I'm gonna jump right into it. I kind of want to fire up a trade. I want to come out of the gate hot and fire up a trade machine.
Let's do it.
All right,
let's jump right
in. Before we do it, we want to call out, if you are just joining us, at Dad's Bet Baseball on YouTube, on the Twitters, on the Instagrams. I don't know if anyone's on Instagram anymore, but Hall of Fame Bets, that is HOFbets.com. They are a sponsor of the show, and we can give you out our code. Our code is DADS, which gets you 50% off the first month. We're going to show you a little bit later how we're using Hall of Fame Bets. We use the Hall of Fame Bets along with our site Handigraphs to find really, really good edges on betting markets, that a lot of them are below the fold. So Hall of Fame Bets, use code DADS. They're also really good for your fees and Durfies, but more on that in a bit. All right. So I have an unpopular take amongst Philadelphia fans, but I'm sticking to this. I'm firing up the trade machine, and I'm going to trade Ranger Suárez. And I got into it a little bit with somebody on Twitter today.
Is this unpopular in Philadelphia? Because
yeah,
I guess outside of Philadelphia, I think Suarez's name has been floated around for like the last 2 or 3 seasons.
Good. That makes me feel real smart. Ranger Suárez is a free agent at the end of this year. I would argue that he is at best the third option in a playoff rotation, more likely the fourth. Obviously, he has been absolutely lights out and fantastic. He looks even better than he did the first half of last season. But if I am the Phillies and I have an 11% chance, according to Fangraphs, of winning the World Series, this is them as a first place team, as a team getting a bye. The Dodgers have a 22% chance. And I think that the gap in everyday lineup is pretty wide, actually, between those two teams. And
I would agree.
If I am the Phillies, I am trading Ranger Suárez in this trade deadline because his value is never going to be higher. You don't end up having to worry about him walking, and you can still be competitive while refilling the cupboard for the next few years, prospect wise. So there were 2 teams that I liked for this. Originally, I had one that had more of the pieces that the Phillies need, and that was the Pittsburgh Pirates. But you and I agreed, why would the Pirates do this? And the only thing ever be.
Again, you know my antipathy towards that organization and franchise. And for a team that hasn't signed a free agent to a multi-year deal since 2016, why would that team trade for Suárez when they're completely out of playoff contention? He will absolutely cost more than they're willing to pay for in even 1 year of salary. So they have assets, but I just don't see that.
Yeah, no. So then I started thinking, what's a better trade partner? And I needed a team that still has a little bit to play for, but not really, and kind of does need some retooling. And what did I land on? Landed on the Baltimore Orioles. So I am going to put in the trade machine Ranger Suárez going to the Baltimore Orioles, along with some prospect. I don't know who it's going to be. It's not going to be Aiden. It's not going to be Crawford, and it's not going to be Painter. And coming back is going to be either Cedric Mullins and Kobe Mayo, and then some sort of combination of, I think, Robinson Cano, Felix Bautista, and I actually put Sam Basello in there, who is their top-rated prospect, who is a catcher. He is blocked by Adley. The Phillies are going to need a catcher next year. I think the Orioles are a really good trade partner in this situation because they could gain a guy who they are willing to probably pay. They did the similar thing with Eflin, who they're now about to ship. And they still remain being young. I'm very much convinced that they are out on Kobe Mayo after watching him multiple times just not get it up here. You can move Kobe Mayo to third base, and he could play. You can get rid of Alec Boehm. So there's a lot of ways to go with this, but I think that the Orioles make sense based on strength of their bullpen. And a couple pieces that they're looking to clearly move anyway, being an outfielder in Cedric Mullins and Kobe Mayo, who I believe to be on the outs with the team. What do you think?
So I have two things for pushback, because I love the fit in that I think this is the Orioles are the perfect kind of team to go after a Suárez. They need a lefty. I can easily see that organization saying, if we scrap this year, even though we tried to resurrect them last month, put in Rodriguez next year in the rotation. You've got a healthy Kyle Bradish, who is, when healthy, one of the best, probably 10 starters in the American League.
Chance McDermott too will be ready next year.
Chance McDermott, and then you could have Suárez as part of that rotation. So for all the crap that we've given them and everybody has given them this year on their starting pitching, they would come into next season with a very solid core of starting guys. My two things is, are they going to, we just saw them in an offseason not give Corbin Burns a massive now, Corbin Burns, different level than Ranger Suárez, but Suárez also a lefty, and this is the only other major free agent that's going to be on the market, also a lefty, is going to be Framber. So I'm interested to see the
I lost a little bit of you there.
Because basically they need to make this trade, and they need to. I'm back here. They need to make this trade, and they need to basically guarantee that they're going to be able to bring him back for giving up the assets that they're going to give up. So the only other thing for me is, can we find somebody other than Cedric Mullins to include in this trade that Philadelphia would say is fair? Because I love the Mayo one. I think Batista makes sense. I'm just trying to look at anybody else on this team. I guess you can't get rid of O'Hearn as part of this deal, right?
No, because what are you going to have him play?
Really
they don't need
exactly.
him. I think if I'm the Brewers, I'd probably go after O'Hearn, but that's neither here nor there. I think that the way that I would do it with them, look, you're probably going to have to I think they sent Heston back down too. You probably want to take a shot at him and have him thrown in there. They're on the outs with him too. But the Phillies need to get back some sort of outfielder. They have to get an outfielder. They'd ideally like to get back an infielder they have past this year. They for sure need an outfielder that can at least give them some pop and has speed. Cedric Mullins is just also a really good fit as a Philly. And I believe that the strength on the Orioles side is they got pretty good relievers, a lot of which are former Phillies, that aren't really in a position to be saving or doing any high leverage for some games. So I'm willing to even take out Mayo on this and take a lower prospect, but I think Mullins is actually is part of this deal, because
Tyler O'Neill can't be part of this trade, can he? I know he's not a free agent until 2028, but so he has a player. Trade him for 2 years.
Well, it's a player opt-in.
Okay.
So is it so? So his contract's actually technically only for this year. That's not a bad one. I
could see O'Neill, Mayo, and Batista, and I would say as for the Phillies, I'd be thrilled on that.
Right, and then they would probably want back, honestly, Suárez and Abel.
I think the Phillies say yes to that.
I think the Phillies say yes to that too. And you got to remember, Suárez will probably fetch, he's going to get a good contract, but he's probably going to get 65, let's say, for 4. He's that sounds the A.
It's going to be so interesting, because normally I would say yes. I don't know what the contracts for free agents are going to look like for this offseason, with
heading into a lockout, into
a lockout, right? We saw a lot of deals that were just 2-year deals given out last year in anticipation of this. So that market might be a little more depressed than I'm giving credit for.
Yep.
But yeah, I think if the Orioles can get some sort of handshake agreement with Suárez's representation that they would be the preferred place for him to re-sign, or there's some sort of extension that they could give him, makes all the sense in the world for me.
Yeah, I think that and I could see them doing that, and the Phillies have to load up, and honestly, it makes sense for Abel has a couple good starts right now in the minors, and he gets his value back and does that. I mean, Abel's always
one thing the Orioles can promise Suárez too is Suarez has had obviously injury history, and in terms of just being able to manage a full season workload, they are in a position where they could say, look, by the end of August, if you need to shut it down for any sort of reason, we will shut you down. That's fine. Right. Like we need you for next year. So instead of him going to a team that really does need a left-hander, like the Brewers, who I want to talk about in the next segment, but that's they're going to be able to kind of sell that as part of the deal for him to re-sign. Is we will be able to manage you a little bit better than most other teams.
I agree. All right, so on your trade machine, who do you have?
I got one that's not nearly as sexy. And
I love, by the way, we picked our teams, just so you know.
I was just about to say, like, this show is not biased at all because we're talking NL East today. But my team here is the New York Metropolitans. They need an outfielder, and Mike Tauchman, I believe is how you pronounce his last name, Mike Tauchman. He's available for the White Sox. So he has a year of arbitration next year. 34 years old, okay? Not a guy that's going to necessarily get a lot of people excited. I think most people would kind of just look and say, who the hell did the Mets even just trade for? But it's a need for this team desperately because you can't roll out Tyrone Taylor as your starting center fielder if you legitimately think you can win a World Series this season. He's essentially a zero in the lineup, not necessarily a great fielder either. Tauchman also pretty decent against left-handed pitching. If you go look at the Mets right now, one of their big weaknesses as a team, and I'm just pulling this up here on Handigraphs just to look at the left-handed pitching for WAR, but they're 96 WRC plus for the season against lefties. They've been much, much better against righties. So you need somebody here that as a career hitter, he's, I think, 107 WRC plus against lefties, which again, like that, I'm not saying that this is going to drastically change their fortunes. It just is filling a need that they're getting essentially nothing from right now. Yep. And it's going to be cheap for them to trade because you can get rid of Marte back in this deal. And you can also trade a prospect that wouldn't necessarily be touching one of the big guys like Jet, like Sproat. You could go and trade Drew Gilbert if you want to throw in Tidwell, who, I mean, I don't know why any team wants to trade for him right now, but sure, you could throw in a cheap prospect and throw in Marte, and this is done. And the Mets instantly feel a need. So that's the trade that I've got. Any thoughts on that? Dude,
I mean, I like it. Tauchman's another lefty too, right?
Yes, he's another lefty, which we've also. Like I know we keep pushing Dalton Varsho to the Mets. I'd love to see it, but it does fill another left-handed bat in the lineup.
Yeah, it's also a cheaper plan with how good and how hot the Jays have been. I think the Varsho deal kind of it becomes an off-season trade for them so they can get out of that contract. No, I like that. Look, the Mets, to me, their need is honestly, like, because Tauchman has he doesn't have bad speed. He's solid, but he's a solid left-handed contact hitter. The people think that the White Sox are a K machine this year. They're not. That entire team has been really good at getting contact on there with a lot of different young guys in that lineup coming in and out. We saw Montgomery come in the other day. A lot of different dudes. So yeah, I like this one. Obviously, mine is a all-in splash because my team, I think that's Dombo's
indicative, though, of the GMs involved, right? Yeah, because, of course, Dombrowski would go and trade one of the best pitchers in the National League and get a whole bunch of stuff back. And, of course, David Stearns would be like, yeah, we're going to go get Mike Tauchman. Like, he's this is just another cog in the wheel kind of guy that we can put into the team. So both of those moves from just a personality standpoint for those GMs, I think, make a lot of sense.
Nope, that makes tons of sense. Okay, so let's move on to the All-Star game is coming next week. This Friday, we're going to have, sadly, you will not be here, but we will have
I will be in the land of Luca, unfortunately.
We're going to have
I'll still be listening.
Producer Spencer is going to be taking your place on Team Dad's Bet Baseball against Colby Marchio and Monty for batter's box, and we're going to do a home run derby draft, which will be fun. Giving out, it's as close as we'll get to a pick show is us giving out some bets on that. You will be calling in your bet to us so that we can have it, so we can win. But
I got my paper slip right here. Awesome. I got my proxy. I got my paper slip. I'm good.
I want to talk about the All-Star game. So the All-Star game is obviously BS because most of it's done by fans, some of it's done by players, but it doesn't actually even mean anything anymore. But I think that there's some things that are telling about guys that when a team has a bunch of All-Stars and their team performance. Was there a team that stood out to you that has either overperformed or underperformed based on their All-Star representation?
We should really just call this the baseball Grammys, because that also doesn't matter at all. By the famous words of Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam. Go look that clip up if you want. But team that I am a little at least interested based on the roster, and I was already kind of thinking about this team, which was the Milwaukee Brewers, and I just watched a series with them this past weekend. Made some money on fading Mizorowski on Saturday. Was very happy about that. If you had listened to us previous, you knew that we were, I don't want to say Miz haters, but definitely we're like cold water.
I was an open hater. I was an open Miz hater.
Yeah.
I was definitely.
You might have been a little bit more than me, but so the only All-Star that the Brewers have is Freddie Peralta, who's been excellent this year. Freddie Peralta's been a solid starting pitcher for a while now. But to me, this just screams of a team that may have peaked a little bit early. And it's funny to say that also because of how poor they started the season. I'm looking at their starting pitching. So we're expecting Jose Quintana, Miz as a rookie, who we already have seen there's, potentially a start that has some evidence that guys are going to be able to figure out, wait for him to throw balls outside, see if you can beat him that way and let him lose kind of some of his command. So Miz, Quintana, Quinn Priester, and Brandon Woodruff. So those are other guys besides Peralta that are part of that pitching staff. And Peralta himself right now, yes, his ERA is around 2.8. If you look at Sierra and expected ERA, it should be closer to around 4. Those metrics are those always are a little more, let's say maybe conservative or harder on the pitcher, in my opinion. But it just, as a team, they're bottom 10 in pitching WAR. And from a batting standpoint, they're in the middle of the pack, basically. I think they're 14th by batting WAR. I don't know. I kind of am looking at this team and going, maybe this is just the same thing we always did with the Guardians and Tito Francona. It's Pat Murphy just kind of has that magic and, makes chicken salad out of chicken shit. But I don't know. This team to me it seems that there is some regression that could still be coming for them. And especially on the pitching staff, it would have me concerned.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And, as I'm looking through their bullpen metrics, their bullpen Sierra is awful. It's 5.38. And this is supposed to be something that, hey, last year they did this. They had 23 or 25 different starting pitchers pitched for them last year. But then, but their bullpen kind of held it down. And they don't do that this year. And I do think that there isn't really anything special about this team compared to how it was last year. I think the hottest consistent players on this team, but there's 7, 8, 9 guys. If it's been Sal or Ortiz, and it's kind of weird.
Their highest guy I didn't even really talk about the bats, but their highest batter by WAR is Contreras at a 1.9 WAR, but yet he has a under 700 OPS so far. I noticeably he has been much worse at the plate this season. So yeah, Churio certainly I think has underperformed. I think there's some positive regression there. This team has always been a contact hitting team. Like you said, the 7, 8, 9 guys. Sal Frelick has been very good for them recently.
Or Joey Ortiz has been great. Ortiz has been fantastic.
Joey Ortiz, another guy I know. Hope we're future friend of the pod. Saris loves Joey Ortiz.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not saying I'm counting this team out. I'm not saying go actively fade and try and short this team. But I also am like, I don't really see what the ceiling is with these guys unless there is some move. And I'm sorry to disappoint you there, Trevor. I know he's already kind of losing his mind here in the chat on it.
Might be worth for them. It might be worth searching. I know they're minus 110 on both. They're flat on both sides for making the playoffs, missing the playoffs. So it might not be bad. Trevor pointing out that Koenig and Mears are their bullpen. It's not wrong. I have a team that I think is pretty similar that I was
going to say, I know the team you're picking, and I think this is literally the AL version of this team.
Yeah, the AL version of this team, in my opinion, is the Tampa Bay Rays. They are a team that everyone gets excited about. We're actually very poorly timed that I have this take 2 weeks after I said, let's take them for the AL East, but also right when they're getting, right when they've pretty much cooled off. This bullpen's atrocious. The bullpen overall just has one of the worst. Their Sierra is, as I'm pulling it up, it's in the 4s. It's been terrible over the last 3 weeks. Over the last 3 weeks, they've been they've been in the 5s. They have 2 All-Star representatives. Arenado, who, let's be honest, is good, has been a good story. Little bit of a platoon, but also, his splits aren't the greatest in the world. And Brandon Lau, who, if not for the big, beautiful bill, we probably wouldn't really care about, but also also shows more about depth of second base. He's having a great year. I don't want to take away from that because he'll probably, get his January 6th buddies on my butt. But they only have two representatives, and this is a team that everyone's been gaga over because they have the 10th best WAR in batting overall in the league. They, lead the league. They, as I'm looking on Fangraphs and some of their other metrics to see some other things that might pop for them. They're top 10 in all of these hitting categories, but I got major concerns about their pitching. As yesterday we found out, like they're always duct taping together a rotation. First of all, Shane Baz started out hot, cooled tremendously. Drew Rasmussen came back, one of our favorite guys to bet on the last couple of years. We find out yesterday when he gets pulled after 2 innings. Oh, by the way, we have an innings cap on him because he's had 3 major elbow surgeries. He's already at 90 for the year. Don't expect him to be pitching more than 4 innings on any start the rest of the season. Joe Boyle is up to take that. So we basically now have Ras, who I would argue is one of their best pitchers, if not the best one, is now going to be a glorified opener. I think Taj has been better than last year, but still is kind of wildly inconsistent. So there's a lot of reasons why this team always looks to me, especially in the AL East, they look like a bounce in the wild card type of team. I can't get behind this bullpen, and just not seeing all-stars all over the place kind of tells me that this team might just kind of be getting that benefit that we thought that they would get from playing in a little league park.
Yeah, Jonathan Aranda, who I stupidly had for hit a home run against Joe Ryan yesterday. Rich man's Addison Barger, by the way. He's just maybe a slightly better.
That's a great comp. That's a great comp.
The other thing with them too is, if you're kind of going back to that bullpen point, because there's 3 things I look at typically if I'm going forward on like how good is a bullpen. Obviously, these things kind of go in and out throughout the season, but it's walk rate, swinging strike rate, and then BABIP. So if you are hitting all 3 of those marks, then that's telling me that you're getting guys to miss, you're not walking guys and putting on base, and you're not giving up contact to put them on base. Rays check 2 of those boxes. They're pretty decent in the first 2 with walk rate and swinging strike rate. BABIP, they're 3rd worst in the league. So they allow a average of 326 from a bullpen standpoint. So again, when you get late in games and you already have some starters that we would argue have a lot of high variance with Bradley and Boz in particular, and then you've got a bullpen that also introduces a little bit more variance. I still like that. I still love the division bet that we put in, and maybe that's more just as a result of the Yankees.
Yeah.
But it's similar to what we just said, 5 minutes ago with the Brewers. It's like, what is this team ceiling? Is it to just kind of barely make the wild card and then get bounced? Because I don't see this as a divisional sort of playoff rotation that could get them anything farther than that.
I don't know. This isn't like a couple of years ago where they had Snell and some other guys and things that they could
Right.
piece around. This is just Scott said it on our show this morning. This is an unserious team. They're not buying at the deadline. If anything, they're going to be for sure.
They might sell. They might honestly. They might sell out.
Chris Morel. Someone's going to be convinced to take that baggage, and they'll probably take someone else. They've never paid a guy. The last time they paid a person, he is now in jail. Being Wander Franco, and this bullpen, you can't have variance in your bullpen if you're going to have variance on your staff. Yeah, one or the other. And the 1.33 home runs per 9 for their bullpen is not good, and that BABIP is scary. So this is a team that I'm selling based on the All-Star stuff. That actually kind of brings up a really important point that I wanted to say on betting as we get this last week before the All-Star game. Did you have anything else you wanted to add on these two teams or any of the teams or no?
Nope. No, I think I'm good on both of these. I think we covered them pretty thoroughly.
So today, this is there's teams that are in really good spots this week, and there's teams that are not in great spots. Look for the teams that have 2 or less or 1 All-Star rep and are playing at home. The one I'm looking at is the Los Angeles Angels. They have one All-Star rep, that is Kikuchi, and their rest of their games before the All-Star break, which to a player is 4 extra days off. They have 7 of them this week. So I'm looking. I'm actually thinking that this team's going to be playing very loose. They're very happy. They don't have to travel. They're literally 7 days away from being on vacation, which is something that is extremely important to players. I don't foresee Trout playing in the home run derby or things like that. It just would not make sense for his body. But look for teams that are doing that, and just kind of this week becomes a little bit less on data and a little bit more on ball knowledge. There's some things that I was looking at today. For example, Jacob deGrom is pitching.
Yeah, I was going to say if you wanted to mention that, because you and I talked.
Yeah, I'm taking his under outs. He just got named an All-Star, and they said on the broadcast yesterday, it's the first time he's going to be able to pitch. He's really excited. Most thing he's most excited about is that he's going to pitch in front of his kids because they were too young in 2019, and he was hurt, and he wasn't. Other times, and he wasn't able to do it. So he's really excited about that. So he's on a very strict pitch limit. If you look at how he was for all of June, he did 82 pitches almost every single start. He just did 92 in his last one, so he's clearly going to go back up. He has one more start this week. It is against Framber, actually, and Houston, a team in front of them. So I took his under outs thinking, look, he will probably take 15 pitches away from that, save them for Tuesday, which would be a throw day, could keep himself still on pitch count limit, can still go full on in the divisional game against the team in front of them. And I took his under outs because of this. I'm not saying that players dictate everything that's going on, but I am sure that there's a wink and a nod on how important it is for him that he saves a little bit because of how specific his regimen has been for the All-Star game. So that's one of the reasons, one of these things to look for this week is these kind of who's going, Wheeler has a start coming up. Are they going to push it up so that he starts the All-Star game? All sorts of things like that.
Yeah, I really wish that the Angels, by the way, would have maybe been a little bit less loose swinging the bat yesterday, because we had Kevin Gausman under K's, and
we had the cap too. We had the cap too. We were like, this looks like a great cap. Yeah, let's go the other way. Let's go the other way. Yeah. Anything you want to add on All-Star game before we kind of teach people how to be betting nerds?
No, I mean, other than I think you capped it perfectly on this is a week where you've got to be a little bit careful on trusting some of the data so much and start looking for, again, spots. There's a good article, I think you can still find this, where this is right around this weekend is where a lot of babies are made. Okay. There's actual scientific evidence that has been shown that this is basically when
August, September, October, November, December.
What is it? I think it's
because everybody ends up having. Yeah, that's why you get all the paternity leaves in March. So, and it works before the season. Then
there are other priorities that are top of mind for a lot of the guys in the clubhouse this week. So yeah, that would just be one thing I would be conscious of, and maybe we'll talk if we have a little bit of time here at the end, because we weren't going to tee up a market that we don't necessarily want to bet going forward. And like that fits in perfectly into exactly why, for example, like pitcher outs, I'm trying to kind of stay away from those in this week, because the workload, especially for some of the guys that are going to be in the All-Star game, it's going to be a little wonky. So I think it's a lot harder to just trust on like pitches per plate appearance, for example, to be able to trust that this week.
Awesome. All right, let's kind of jump right in. So as we mentioned before, let me go to this. We got it. Oh, there it is. Look at this. This is the shiny new Hall of Fame Bets desktop version, which hofapp.com, code DADS. We love this. So we're going to show you a market that we really love and how we play around with Hall of Fame Bets to find it. And we've been doing, it is no secret that we do a lot of team markets on here. First thing I'm doing is I'm always going to leaderboard, and I'm going to teams. I go to batting. And one of the things that I'm kind of looking for, and this is another thing, is DK just gave back the team total home runs. So a market that we love to hit is extra base hits. And what I'll do is I'll go to Hall of Fame Bets, and I will look at, all right, the last 10, who is kind of hitting home runs, who is hitting doubles. What? Look at this. The Red Sox are just crushing doubles. Extra base hits. Like, so all these teams are at that end. Let's make this a little bit higher than 1. Let's make it 2 a game, because usually the number is 3.5. So team doubles. Yeah. Red Sox and Giants, the last 5. Red Sox have just been awesome at the, like, I think we see a bet that we might end up having to make. So anyway, we look at that. When we go to,
I think a little park factor might be in there, but I guess they've been on a road trip too. So that's also,
that is good. So look, one of the things we do is we go on Handigraphs. I have a filter saved. Thank you, CJ, for creating this weekend, called Extra Base Hits. We talked about this on the show a couple weeks ago, but basically I highlight anybody who's got an ISO of 200 or more. All right. I'm going to sort it by team. I'm going to look and see, well, let's do this. I look into the last 5. Whoop, I'll restart it because it's, I had that logged in. Okay. So batters, filter, saved, extra base hits, last 5 games. All right. Sorting the teams.
Red is good, by the way, and blue is bad for anybody that's not familiar. Yeah.
So I'm going to look and I'm going to see, okay, where do I have a team that has, for the extra base hit team market, where do I have a team that has multiple guys that are doing this? So we saw Boston has a bunch of doubles, but I'm only seeing Boston only has really 2 guys who are consistently getting these, have their ISO pretty high. And one of them for some reason is incorrectly.
Yeah, so clear that right now, Adam. So clear that filter real quick. If you guys are, by the way, using the site, so the filter is going to be up. So save it right here. Yep. Go apply it.
Oh,
okay.
Boom.
There you go.
Yeah.
So whenever you flip, whenever you flip between the different tabs, it'll show you what their splits are, but it uses the same baseline from wherever you created the filter. Yeah.
Okay. So let me show you. So now, like, starting with this, second time you showed me how to use our own site on there. Okay. So, all right. So let's use Boston as a really good example, because Boston's a target for me. So look, 4 guys at the 9 in their lineup have ISOs over 200, means they're smacking the ball. I will then go to Hall of Fame Bets. I will go to leaderboard. I will go to batting, and I will see if this kind of corresponds. On doubles, yes, it corresponds. On triples, yes, triples are harder, so I'm not really as worried about. Yep, they're still getting them. And home runs, they are, let's see, they're down there, but let me just look at the doubles again, because I bet you that doubles is insane. This is a team that constantly hits doubles. Let me just look it up. Yeah, dude, look at this. So this is one of the reasons I love Hall of Fame Bets, is because we're able to see this stuff. They're going against, let's see what it is, because today they're going against a lefty. 3, 5, and 3. These are all this is road games too. So this is awesome. So now the other missing thing that's going to be, I'm going to share going back and forth. Sorry about this, Spencer. On ours, we can click on our site and you can look at who they're going against. Austin Gomber, who stinks. What is his ISO? His opposing ISO is over 236. So showed you just now how on both of ours, this is absolute, and he's lefty. This is absolutely going to be a bet, even if it's probably going to be over 3.5 at plus money, but I'm going to love it. But this is a really, really good way to use their site on a market that I think is, advantageous to be betting it right now. It's a lot easier. And if you hit the home run, it counts towards this. That's kind of one of my favorite reasons.
Or a triple, by the way. Like,
or triple.
Mean, obviously not a lot of them, but I mean, if you got a guy like Jaron Duran who goes in and hits a triple every so often, that's going to count towards that too. So
it's good. It's really there's nobody else who has this kind of like the team market stuff for them is so good. As I see, like, I don't know. Did you want to highlight anything before we kind of moved on?
I think the way you like in terms of like order of operations for how you're using this is we're going to Hall of Fame bets, looking at the trends essentially, or the hit rate, to tell us what are some teams that are interesting, what we can look for. So you're using this here to, one, help find a team that you can start researching for a bet. Then you go to Handigraphs and you can use that to actually validate. So you can say, okay, this hit rate really high, like we said for the Red Sox. Who are the guys in the lineup today? Are they going to also be part of that, or was that due to a couple other guys that won't be in the lineup currently today? And also against that type of handedness of pitching. Once you kind of do a little bit of that validation, like Adam just did, then you can come back to Hall of Fame bets and do essentially make one more sort of cherry on top, double check,
filter in
that everything looks good, and filter in for let me go back to that filter. Yeah, so the left-handed pitching. Yeah.
I mean, at home it's also looking at
too, like
at home it's
with that like this is such a wild. Yeah, and I literally said that at the beginning. I'm like, wow, it's kind of actually wild. They haven't even been hitting this with.
I know, really. Road. Like we are definitely hitting this today.
So there's that's one way to do it. You could also have started that process by going to Handigraph, seeing, well, which team has the most guys in the lineup with an ISO greater than 200? Oh, it's, again, the Red Sox or Cincinnati, for example. So you go and you see that. Then you come to Hall of Fame bets and you can start to actually pinpoint some of the hit rates for this as a team. So, yeah, there might be 4 guys that have super high ISOs, but, maybe they haven't been in the lineup lately. Maybe this team has been on the road a lot. So it's not like a perfect start with this, do this, then finish with this. But I think kind of that order that Adam just went through, where you're using Hall of Fame to find the bet and then be able to do a little bit of some validation after you look a little bit deeper into some of those different. That's we do another one of these. I know I just kind of went up for just a second, but we do another one of these. Like, I really want to go walk through the Nerfy process, because that's exactly what I do for this, is where I'm starting here, looking at a pitcher and their hit rate for Nerfy. So, I mean, you can go, we can do it now, I guess. So you could go to home, and let's go to home. So this is also great process.
There's a boost, by the way. There's a boost on DK today for Nerfy if we want to build it right now using it.
So if you're looking at, I'll do this for like individual games, like for like, especially like if it's a Saturday and I know there's like 3 more games left in the day, and I'm like, you know what, like I kind of want to get some action on this. So let's go to that Reds Marlins game. But we'll just kind of, again, we may not actually make a bet out of this. It's just to give you an idea of what it looks like. So scroll down so you can see, here's your pitchers, and then you look at, so what Hall of Fame Bets is great at is on that Nerfy and Yerfy, it'll show you the hit rates for each of those pitchers, but that's related to the amount of runs that they allow. So it's not, some of the stuff that you'll see is like, well, what's the Cincinnati Reds Nerfy hit rate? But that's not accounting for the other team, essentially. It's just accounting for them. So right here, it's like, oh, okay, so we've got Singer and Junk, decent hit rates, or 3 of the last 5 for Junk, 4 of the last 5 for Singer. Then if you go to 2025, is that indicative of, scroll back up, and then we'll show the batting form in a second.
Oh, there it is.
So just go to 2025.
Yeah. It's
okay.
It's
so
right
so like, look, these guys are typically around that 70 to 80% hit rate. And then all I want to do now is go to recent batting form and scroll down and go to like last 5, last 10. So scroll, a little bit back up. We want to go to that recent batting form.
Yeah, right here. Batting form. Oh, batting form. Here we go.
Yeah, there we go. So like last 10, Reds haven't been hitting the ball well at all. Marlins have been bottom half. To me, like, this is probably actually a bet that you could get some good value on a Nerfy. because these are both seen as traditionally pitchers that are going to allow a decent amount of runs. So I don't even know what the odds are for this, but you've got essentially two pitchers that typically are pretty good at the start of games, and these teams are not hitting.
Yep.
That's all you need to know in terms of going and betting a Nerfy.
I like it. There's one of our buddies, Chris, was gonna do with me. He has other ways that he's doing. It's kind of cool. One of the reasons I like the platform is because I'm able to find new stuff in it all the time. And then, this is awesome because like most of the time you will see someone will say, "Here's my Yerfy record," and it's including the batting, but I don't care about that. I care about what Singer's giving up. And so this is great. I care about junk, and I like junk. So, all right, no, this is great. All right.
I'm just trying to see what that line is right now, but we can go into the last kind of the home stretch of the show here. But I'm going to try to find it.
Okay, we can. Well, first of all, again, Hall of Fame Bets, HOFapp.com. Use our code DADS DADS, half off the first month. There's a ton of ways.
Minus 110 to the under for that Nerfy. By the way, so minus 120 to the over, minus 110 to the under. That's probably a bet for me.
That's a bet. And there's a boost on DK for Yerfy Nerfies. So I'm going to probably do
this is on DK. Those are the odds there on DK.
That's perfect. Awesome. All right. So yeah, thanks again to Hall of Fame Bets. If you, producer Spencer, if you want to go back to just us, and we can. All right. So I already kind of ranted last week on a market that I am just not interested in betting anymore. To close this out before we move into dad moves, can you tell me about it? Tell me a little bit more. You had mentioned it before, but what is this what is a market that you are just, as we're getting warmer, as things are just getting a little bit into the, hey, our team doesn't matter anymore. What are you not interested in betting, especially maybe even this week?
Pitcher outs. I said it before, but there's a multitude of reasons why this can be a dangerous game to play at this point in the season, because what we mentioned, the All-Star break. So you've got the All-Star break this week, and then also coming off of the All-Star break, it's just a weird rest schedule for everybody involved. You've got most of the starting and relief pitchers in the league who are going to have basically a week off. I think Sunday's the last. Is Sunday their game Sunday? I think there's game Sunday.
Yeah, there's game Sunday. Those are weird games, by the way. Those are games where you just take
also
the dog.
Very weird games. So you've got that. So you've got basically like 2 weeks here that you're going to have some weirdness going on with the All-Star break. But then right after the All-Star break, when the next set of games are, which is the 18th, you've got the trade deadline 2 weeks later. And there's also a lot of guys. We saw this with Jack Flaherty last year before the Tigers shipped him. We knew he was going to get shipped. There was an opportunity there where we were kind of actually betting some under outs, but you can be surprised, honestly, in like what some of these teams will do. Like it really kind of depends on the organization's mentality and how they want to handle their assets before they trade them. Some of them want to treat them with white gloves, don't want them really out there at all. Others are like, screw it. We want to keep them out there as much as we can because we're going to be getting rid of them anyways. And we hope that they just don't get injured. So trade deadline, you've got adjustments coming off of that coming into August. And then by September, a lot of these guys are planning their trips for Cancun at this point. Like they're not, you do have to kind of factor that in as well. And a lot more of these let them out and die type of games as well for teams. So
they like to preserve bullpens a lot. Like the Red Sox, I've seen that Dickie Fitz is going to start on Sunday. He's starting today too. Dickie Fitz probably getting left out to die against Tampa.
Yeah. I kind of noticed that today too. I was like, it's probably bad day for Fitz. But so, there's I think it's the market itself. There will be bets that will come up that will actually be extremely valuable with outs in the next 2 months. But in terms of like the day-to-day stuff that we like to play, and if I'm trusting a lot more of like the third time through the order, pitches per plate appearance, how's their command look? I'm kind of putting that to the wayside and just being a lot more careful and those. I'm being a lot pickier and when I want to bet those. And that also kind of, remember, like all that stuff is correlated with Ks, walks, etc. So if you are not sure of the pitcher's workload and there's a couple of reasons whether they're going to get traded, whatnot, I would just tread lightly in some of the different pitcher markets, especially in the next couple of weeks. And stick to batters because it's batting season anyways, given how warm it is.
The last thing I will add to that, as I'm looking at the schedule for this week, look at the guys who are starting on Wednesday, because they are not going to have to start again or pitch for another 2 weeks. These are the guys who I'm seeing on here are Chris Bubik, Kyle Hendricks, Kumar Rocker is on here. Who else is on here? Jesus Luzardo. Jesus Luzardo is a good one to be looking at. He is not going, like a lot of these guys, I think that they will give them, they might let them kind of do whatever because they're done after that for 2 weeks. Verlander Verlander might have to eat it on Wednesday against the Phillies because he's not pitching again for 3 weweeks. This is just crazy. So yeah, look at that, and then you look at the guys that are pitching on Sunday and who might just get left out there. So and Trevor, who pays for our StreamYard, pointing out that CAG's under 1.5 HRR has been a wagon. We appreciate it. That is another one.
Wish you could have texted me that yesterday, Trevor, because I had CAGs for another dong, and that was that day for me. Yeah.
Adjusted quickly. Well, we got that Suzuki. Everyone, think good thoughts for Suzuki RBIs for the rest of the year, and we'll tell you why when we get there. But all right. So I think let's go to dad moves. I'll go to quick dad moves. Let me see. What do I got for a dad move, or do you want to go first while I think of what mine is?
Oh man, I don't really have a lot this week. I guess the only thing I can say is because I'm about to go on a extended vacation and going to be on a plane for 9+ hours, and I would just say, like, if you're bringing kids on a very long plane ride, get YouTube Premium for the flight, so you can just download some stuff and be able to just have that offhand. I know that there's obviously like the kids channel and stuff that's going to be on the plane, but it's just so much easier to just, like, you already know in advance. Like, I know my daughter loves Daniel Tiger and videos of alligators, so I'm just going to download that before I get on the plane. Yeah, the show is not sponsored by YouTube. I think I've recommended YouTube TV as a dad move before too, but you don't have to get YouTube Premium for like the whole thing. Just get it for the trip, and then you can cancel after that.
I will tie it to that because we have. If you have 2 kids, get 2 tablets. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if the parent army is going to come after me. We just bought our second the other day. Amazon Prime delivered it that day. We made Nora think that it was hers because it's pink, because part of this is because we left the blue one in New Hampshire. But I got to tell you, for all the craziness that is 2 children, they really don't understand the concept of sharing until they get much older. So if you have 2 that are under 5, just get them both tablets, get them both the same everything, no matter what the toy is. It could be a toy that, like, we get Jake Barbie dolls because they just have, if Nora has a Barbie doll, Jake wants a Barbie doll. But what we just did was we just got the Prime tablet, which is great. It's like $50. And because Caitlin was like, oh, I'm going to get another tablet. I'm like, I'm not getting another iPad. I had a iPad. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. We'll get these. And so we have the Prime one. We have the cheapo one, but it still works because you could just download all the Disney Plus stuff. They're very into just repeating.
I was going to say, literally any tablet that just has Disney Plus and YouTube, and it's done. And
you're fine. So yeah, it's good. I agree. All right. Cool. So this was a really good episode. We had a lot of people tuned into this. Thank you guys. Noon on a Monday after a holiday. So big thanks to Hall of Fame Bets. Again, HOFapp.com and using the code DADS. Dads Bet Baseball at Dads Bet Baseball on every single platform. You can follow us, give us a subscribe, tell your friends to subscribe, tell your friends that you heard something here that was valuable. Like us, rate us, all that stuff. For CJ, who is at Dads That Bet on Twitter. Spencer, who's awesome, is our producer, at Spencer_Ray, Ray RAY. I'm Adam Rosenberg at Hey Rosenberg. And CJ, what's the final word before you leave?
Hall of Fame Bets.